Erev Tov Rabotai, we are continuing with our Mishna Yomi, Masechet Batra. We are up to Perikei Mishnah Bet. Today's Mishnayot should be Leilu Nishmat Neria ben Svetlana, Ranbai Eliyahu ben Burcha Israelov, Chana bad Miriam, Sason ben Ryan, Yoshua ben Shifra, Menuchatam began Eden, Amen. And Avdi ben Chaim lechaim v'derefua shenemav Daniel Shalom ben Rosa betoch Shach Cholei Israel, and Achlama Merav Binyamin Od Zion Chai ben Dvorah. In earlier times, donkeys were used both for riding and as beasts of burden that would carry loads. Therefore, a donkey would usually have two sets of gear, riding gear such as a saddle and a bridle, and carrying gear such as sacks and saddlebags. The Mishnah cites a three-way dispute among the Tanaim about whether a donkey's carrying gear is automatically included when a donkey is sold. The donkey's riding gear is included in the sale according to all of these Tanaim, whether the donkey is wearing it at the time of sale or not, because the riding gear is considered part of a donkey's essential strappings and is always included. Hamocheret chamor, if someone sells a donkey, lo machar kelav, he has not sold its carrying gear, even if the donkey was wearing it at the time of the sale. This is the view of the first Tana, who holds that a donkey is used mainly for riding, so the carrying gear is not included unless it's specifically mentioned at the time of the sale. The Mishnah cites the view of the second Tana, Nachum Madi Omer, but Nachum the Madi says, if someone sells a donkey, machar kelav, he has sold its carrying gear, provided that the donkey was wearing it at the time of the sale. If the donkey was not wearing the carrying gear, however, even Nachum Madi agrees that it is not included in the sale. The third Tana agrees with the first Tana that generally carrying gear is not included in the sale. However, he maintains that there are times when it is clear that the sale does include the carrying gear as well. Rabbi Yehuda says, Pa'amim mechurin u'pa'amim enam mechurin. There are times when the carrying gear is sold and there are times when it is not sold. Ketzad, how so? Hayah chamor lefanav v'chelav alav. If there was a donkey standing in front of the buyer and it was wearing its carrying gear, v'amarlo, and he said to the seller, mecholi chamorcha zeh, sell me this donkey of yours, harei chelav mechurin, then even the carrying gear is sold. Since the buyer added the extra word this, instead of simply saying, sell me your donkey, we say that he wanted to buy the donkey as it is, together with the carrying gear that it is wearing. The expression, sell me this donkey, is taken to mean, sell me the donkey as it is now, together with its gear. Chamorcha hu, but if he saw the donkey and said, is this your donkey? And upon being told that it was, bought it, en kelav mechurin, then its carrying gear is not sold, even if it was on the donkey at the time of the sale. We assume that the buyer did not mean to include anything extra in this case, but merely wished to find out if the donkey was for sale. Therefore, we treat this case like a standard sale, and the carrying gear is not included. And the Rab does tell us, "V'alacha ketanakama v'lo kana kelim shel masoy v'afilu ayu alav b'sham michira," that the halacha follows the opinion of the first Tana, that if someone sells a donkey, he has not sold its carrying gear, even if the donkey was wearing it at the time of the sale. And the halacha does not follow the opinion of Rabbi Yehuda or Nachum Madi. And that is end of Mishnah Bet. Mishnah Gimel continues to teach what is included in the sale of various items. The first two rulings concern one who sells a particular type of animal. Hamocheret chamor, if someone sells a donkey and specifies that he is selling a nursing donkey. Macharet hasiyach, he has sold the donkey's foal. The Mishnah uses the word siach for a foal, a baby donkey, because it can easily be led through siach, na'ah, soft words, unlike an older donkey which must be prodded. So if someone sells a donkey and he specifies that he's selling a nursing donkey, macharat siach, he has sold the donkey's foal, the baby donkey, along with the mother. Since the non-kosher milk of the donkey has no value except as food for a foal, a siach, we said the seller mentioned the nursing donkey because he intended to sell the foal along with the mother. Macharet para, but if someone sells a cow and specifies that he is selling a nursing cow, lo macharet bena, he has not sold his child. Since the milk of a cow is valuable as a food, the seller may have simply meant that the cow is producing milk, not that the calf was included in the sale. The Mishnah now discusses whether a sale of things that are used to contain other items includes the items that are inside them. Machar Ashpa, if he sold a manure pile, meaning a pit that is 3 tvachim deep, or a raised area 3 tvachim high, which was used to store manure that was kept for fertilizer. Machar Zivla, he has sold its manure as well. Machar Bol, similarly, if he sold a pit. Machar Memav, he has sold its waters. Machar Kaveret, if he sold a beehive. Machar Dvorim, he has sold its bees. Machar Shovach, and if he sold a dovkat. Machar Yonim, he has sold its pigeons. Now the contents of these items are considered subordinate, tafel, to the properties themselves according to this Tana, and they are therefore included in the sale. Now this Mishnah represents the minority view of Rav Natan. However, the sages hold that the contents are not included when these items are sold, similar to that which we learned in Mishnah 1, that the sale of a ship does not include its cargo. All Tanaim agree that in the reverse case, where one sells the contents of his manure pile, pit, etc., the pile or pit itself is certainly not sold. But again, regarding the Mishnah's case, the Rav tells us that Halakha does not follow the opinion of Rabbi Natan, the Halakha follows the opinion of the sages, that the contents are not included when these items are sold. The Mishnah now discusses the law if a seller wishes to keep his hives and dovekats and sells only the production of the properties, meaning the pigeons and bees, so that he can keep his dovekat or hive, and the buyer can start his own dovekat or hive. Although the general rule is that it is usually impossible to sell something that does not yet exist, selling the future production of an existing hive or dovkat is an exception to the rule, because the producing property does already exist, and it's considered as if the seller has leased the hive or dovkat to the buyer, giving him the rights to whatever it will produce. If someone buys the production of a dovkat from his fellow, meaning the pigeons that will be born during the next year, Mafriach berecha rishona, he must chase away the first pair of pigeons that are born, so that they will return to the seller's dovkat. These birds, together with their parents, are kept by the seller, so his dovkat will continue to produce the following year. The seller did not sell the dovkat itself, so we assume that he meant to keep the original breeding pair to produce more pigeons the following year for himself. And the breeding pair will flee the dovkat if all of their offspring are removed. The buyer must therefore chase away the first pair of pigeons born after the sale, allowing them to stay with their parents as companions. The Gemara there in Batra, page 88, adds that the first pair of grandchildren, meaning the first pair born to the first pair that was born to the original breeding pair, must also be chased back to the seller, so that the first pair of children will not flee when all of its children are removed. But once there are a total of 6 birds, children, parents, and grandparents, they will all remain, and the dovekat's future is guaranteed. Perot kaveret, if someone buys the production of a beehive, meaning all the bees that will be born in the next year, noten shloshan nechilin umsares, he takes the first 3 swarms of newly born bees that exit the seller's hive. After that, he takes every other swarm, but he must leave the rest for the seller, so the seller's hive will have enough bees to survive as well. Since the seller did not sell his own hive, he intended to keep enough bees to allow his own hive to survive. He may therefore keep every other swarm after the first 3. Chalot dvash, if he bought the honeycombs of the hives, maniach shte chalot, he must leave 2 combs in the hive, so the bees can eat their honey during the winter season and the hive will not be destroyed. A similar law applies to one who buys olive trees, zetim lakots. If someone bought the branches of olive trees to cut down for firewood, maniach shte girofiot, he must leave 2 branches behind for the seller. Since only the branches were sold and not the tree itself, the buyer must leave enough of the tree behind so that it will grow. The buyer must leave enough of the tree behind so that it will grow back. And that is an Abotai of today's Mishna Yomi. Baruch Adonai Leolam. Amen v'amen.